Doom's first level uses 3 monster placements across 5 difficulty settings in a genius way that most people don't realize, and other FPS games years later adapted this clever formula for their own combat design. 4 monsters on easy, 6 on medium, and 29 on hard. How did Doom do it? In the first room, we're introduced to the explosive barrel hazard. It's the same in every difficulty. The first shotgunner room has easy and medium, having no monsters. They just use this room to get you accustomed to the game and introduce verticality, which was huge. It was new in 1993, especially as Wolfenstein 3D from the year before didn't have it. But on hard, everything changes. The first enemy room has 4 shotgunners, 2 high and 2 low. This introduces verticality in combat, making the player learn how space, up and down, work in battle. You can also pick them off from far away, or get ambushed by the bottom 2 if you get closer. They're deafened at the bottom, so they won't attack until they see you. This makes the player think about how they will approach the fight, learn from it, and face the repercussions for their actions. It's a great teacher when you run in, guns blazing, and get ambushed by the super powerful first enemy shotgunners. And if you're liking this video, subscribe for more like it. Next up is the Tech PC room. On easy mode, you meet your first enemy, the green zombie man. Quite a different color than the red shotgunner, which is nice to be able to tell the difference. Great touch, Doom. There's this simple pistol-wielding zombie man, and he gets you acclimated to combat. He's slow, weak, and fragile. You can run in, again, guns blazing, or take cover behind the door and into the first room. You learn 2 different combat strategies here and feel the consequences of each, Rambo or cover. Now medium adds an extra zombie man. It doubles the pressure, but the stakes aren't high. This introduces no new mechanics or enemies, just more pressure. Though this does begin to teach the concept of target prioritization, an entry to the concept. More info on that in a second. Hard is a lot tougher. This is different in that we now not only have the enemies ahead of us with the shotgunner plus 2 zombie men, but we're flanked on each side. This room has a total of 3 shotgunners and 2 zombie men. This discourages running in with guns blazing, and here's why. Sure, it can work for more experienced players, but maybe pulling back a bit to pick them off with our newly acquired shotgun is the answer. It's great at that. You've seen so far how Doom can be played like a fast-paced action game or a slower, more calculated shooter, depending on the situation. But this next part, the toxic hallway, every difficulty gets a buff here. In easy mode, we're introduced to a new concept, the toxic floor hazard. This damages the player upon contact, so you definitely want to avoid it. Or maybe you sacrifice the damage for more mobility because you're in a zigzag room. This tests your movement skills as you go into the fight. Either you stay on the path or bounce up and down off the ledges and take extra damage, or avoid it if you're quick enough before it registers on your character, Doom Guy. This encounter now has a zombie man and an imp. We step up the difficulty yet again, plus with the new toxic waste hazard and the zigzag safe path for you to learn movement and navigation mid-combat. Although if you noticed, the zombie man is before the actual room itself, making sure that you fight the imp one-on-one and really understand how this new enemy type works, as well as how the new hazard of the toxic floor functions in combat. They don't want to throw too much at the player at once, but have them learn each individual concept and later throw more at the player and have them use them all together. This is a classic way to scale difficulty in a video game without overwhelming the player and making it seem fair. So about that imp. This teaches us more verticality. As well as being the first projectile enemy, the gunners have an instant contact hit scan, but the imp has a physical fireball that he lobs to you. This is what I'll call a soft introduction, as the imp is only at half power, he can't reach you with the melee to claw, and his movement is hindered by the platform. On medium mode, we add another zombie man for extra pressure. Now remember, these first 2 options aren't meant to make the player sweat, but introduce them to a new and novel concept and game type. Some players may laugh and poke fun at how easy they feel it is, but if you go overboard on the easier difficulties, it'll drive away the casual players who do need this skill level. Also, remember, this was released in 1993. Our skill as gamers and gear has vastly improved, and we've had 30 years to dissect this map. A lot of people used keyboard only when this first came out, although mouse was intended. On hard mode, this is where it gets real. We have 3 shotgunners, 2 zombie men, and 2 imps, with the shotgunner and zombie men in the corridor before this room. And don't forget that deafened shotgunner hiding behind the wall. You really learn how to line enemies up, if you didn't in the last room. Now the shotgun's penetration is really shown to be the MVP here. there's a ton of added pressure from all the extra hit scanners, plus the imp count on the ledge is doubled. If you go in guns blazing, you'll probably pay the price. The game is teaching you, be careful and look before you leap. You'll be rewarded for that and your sharp shot. But what if those imps could actually reach you? In easy and medium mode in the secret tunnel, there's no enemies. It's just a reward for exploring, hinted by the different wall texture. It teaches the player to look for these. It takes us back out to that blue armor that we were hinted to before showing us that if we can see it, we can reach it. But how? Hard mode tosses in a couple shotgunners in an awkward little hallway, but they can infight or fight with one another, and this means that you have to fight for your secrets unless you let them take care of themselves for you. Infighting is a very interesting mechanic that you can use strategically. Infighting occurs when one enemy accidentally shoots the other, and then it gets angry and fires back. If you can line enemies up to do this, you can come out ahead by saving ammo and getting the fire off your back and onto theirs. Now on the final room on easy and medium, we now see the imp on the ground. So we must watch out for fireballs and melee now. The explosive barrels that we met in the first room are now viable for combat, so we can learn to use them to take out enemies. There are wall cages to the left and the right. This prevents you from reaching the enemy this way, yet you can still engage in combat through them. All enemies here are deafened, which means that they can't hear as we fight in the previous room. But guess what? Doom did the cool trick again. Let's take a look at this final room and see how. When the big finale is a shotgunner, imp, and 4 zombie men with 3 dangerous explosive barrels, running and gunning without care can really mess things up. As you see here, I barely escaped this fight. Now if you're not ready for the Rambo approach, you can stay back and use the hazards to your advantage. We learned about them before in the first room, now we get to put them to the test. Remember how I mentioned introducing concepts? It's done very well here. But there's another secret we have to see before leaving. Upon entering the final room, there's a floor trigger that opens up a secret room. No enemies in easy or medium, but hard has a shotgunner. If you are playing on easy or medium though, it's your first chance at obtaining the shotgun. By stepping back over a floor trigger by the light in the zigzag hallway, an elevator lowers for some supplies. This was added in version 1.2 from February 17, 1994, and leads to a secret tunnel containing some armor bonuses and a box of shotgun shells. The final room has no enemies on easy or medium, but on hard mode, surprise, a final encounter, calm, collected, and cool. It's just an easy fight with some goodies to replenish you as you go into the next map. But of course, Doom won't let you leave without a sudden fight. But if there are 5 difficulty settings and 3 monster placements, what about the other 2? The very easy mode, I'm Too Young to Die, has the easy mode monster placements, but you take half damage from hazards and enemies while receiving double ammo from pickups. The very hard skill level, aptly named Nightmare, is the same monster placement as hard, except you get double ammo, which seems unfair until you realize that monsters move and shoot faster with instant reaction. You need that extra fuel to fight the responding monster fire. Yes, as you just saw, they indefinitely respawn on a randomized timer as well. The early game enemies are mostly hit scan, which means they instantly connect when successful versus a projectile launching, which also moves faster. This makes them that much harder because they fire much faster and more often without any projectile airtime. See, there are so many possibilities and options that, while today's standards aren't new, 30 years ago, this wasn't the norm. Look at where it all started. So yes, while other games have tried to raise the bar for intro levels over these past 30 years, this level stands right up there with them. Besides, even if they are trying to raise the bar, it's all thanks to Doom's E1M1 that the bar even exists. Check out my next Doom analysis video here on Zero Master, the greatest Doom player of all time, and subscribe for more videos like this. I'm Alston, thanks for watching.